Have you ever wondered why some mysteries refuse to be solved? Why some questions seem to echo through time without ever receiving an answer? Why do certain disappearances, strange phenomena, and baffling events continue to haunt us, no matter how advanced science becomes? Good evening. I am the Sleepy Doctor. Tonight I want to take you on a journey. A journey into the strange, the mysterious, and the unexplained. In this video we will explore some of the most unsolved mysteries that cannot be explained. From vanished civilizations to bizarre cosmic signals, from ghost ships silently drifting at sea to strange objects found in the sky, we will uncover the stories that continue to baffle historians, scientists, and ordinary people alike. But before we begin, let me ask you something. Do you enjoy drifting into sleep with fascinating stories that spark your imagination? Do you love mysteries, history, and strange phenomena? If so, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Sleepy Doctor so you'll never miss a new mystery to fall asleep to. And don't forget to tap the notification bell so you'll always be among the first to hear these strange and wonderful stories. Now, close your eyes if you wish, relax, and let's step into the world of the unexplained. Imagine the vast Atlantic Ocean in the late 19th century. Endless waves roll beneath the winter sky, the wind howls softly through the sails of countless ships, and trade vessels cross between continents carrying spices, wine, and goods. But in December of 1872, one such vessel, known as the Mary Celeste, would drift into legend as one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries in maritime history. The Mary Celeste was found completely deserted, her crew gone without a trace. There was no sign of struggle, no evidence of violence. Her cargo was intact, her sails still set, and she had months' worth of food and fresh water stored below deck. Everything suggested a normal voyage, except for one chilling detail: not a single person was on board. This story has fascinated sailors, scientists, and storytellers for over a century. And tonight, we'll unravel it piece by piece, exploring what happened, what theories arose, and why the Mary Celeste remains one of the ocean's most enduring mysteries. The Mary Celeste was built in Nova Scotia in 1861 and originally christened the Amazon. She was a sturdy, respectable merchant brigantine, designed to carry cargo across the Atlantic. Over time, she changed hands, suffered accidents, and even a fire before being repaired and renamed the Mary Celeste. By 1872, she was captained by Benjamin Briggs, a deeply respected sailor known for his discipline, skill, and religious devotion. On board were his wife Sarah and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. Alongside them, a carefully selected crew of 7 men, all experienced sailors, set out from New York on November 7, 1872. Their destination, Genoa, Italy. Their cargo, 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol. This was a routine voyage. The weather at departure was fair. The crew was capable. Nothing suggested that disaster was waiting on the horizon. And yet, within a month, the Mary Celeste would be found adrift, with no living soul on board. On December 5, 1872, a British ship called the Dei Grazia spotted a vessel drifting erratically about 400 miles east of the Azores. The ship appeared damaged but still afloat. As they approached, they saw the name painted on the bow: Mary Celeste. Captain David Morehouse of the Dei Grazia ordered a boarding party. When sailors climbed aboard, they were struck by what they found. The ship was completely seaworthy. Her cargo was untouched, though 9 barrels were later discovered empty. The crew's belongings, clothes, boots, pipes, even valuables, were still in their quarters. The galley held food, with meals partially prepared as if abandoned mid-routine. The ship's logbook had its last entry on November 25, 10 days before discovery. But there were odd details too. The lifeboat was missing. Some sails were damaged, but nothing critical. The ship's pump was partially dismantled. And strangely, a deep-cut mark was found near the bow, as though someone had hacked at the wood. It was as though the crew had abandoned ship suddenly, but why? Over the last 150 years, dozens of theories have been proposed. Some sound logical. Others lean into the bizarre and supernatural. Let's explore them. One of the first suspicions was piracy. Could raiders have attacked the ship, killed the crew, and left the vessel behind? This theory doesn't hold up. The cargo was intact, personal valuables were untouched, and there were no signs of struggle. Pirates rarely leave treasure behind. Some suggested that Captain Briggs' strict nature might have caused rebellion. Perhaps the crew killed him and his family, then fled. Yet again, no blood, no damage, and no motive have ever been proven. Moreover, Briggs was admired for fairness. His crew was carefully chosen and loyal. This is one of the most compelling theories. The cargo, alcohol, was dangerous. 9 barrels were later found empty. Could fumes have leaked, creating fear of an explosion? Some historians argue that Captain Briggs may have ordered everyone into the lifeboat temporarily, fearing fire. But perhaps wind, currents, or a mishap separated them from the ship forever. This would explain the hasty abandonment, though not the lack of burn marks or smoke damage. Rogue waves, waterspouts, sudden storms, all are possible. A rogue wave could have flooded the deck, scaring the crew into abandoning ship. But again, the Mary Celeste was still seaworthy. Sailors don't leave a perfectly good vessel unless absolutely forced. Over the years, ghostly tales have swirled. Some said sea monsters rose from the depths. Others whispered of alien abductions, cursed voyages, or even time slips. While these make for fascinating legends, no evidence supports them. Another practical theory: perhaps there was a financial scheme at play. Could Captain Morehouse of the Dei Gratia have staged the whole event to collect salvage money? Maritime law rewarded rescuers. However, both captains were close friends, and evidence against Morehouse was never found. The court awarded salvage money fairly, dismissing fraud accusations. The Mary Celeste continues to fascinate because no theory is perfect. Each explanation answers one question but leaves others unresolved. If they feared explosion, why leave in calm weather? If disaster struck, why was the ship intact? If pirates attacked, why leave valuables untouched? The silence of the Atlantic holds the truth, but no witness survived to tell it. What makes this story even more chilling is the personal angle. Captain Briggs was a family man, traveling with his wife and young daughter. Their disappearance transforms the Mary Celeste from just another maritime puzzle into a tragedy that touches the heart. It is not only about lost sailors, it is about a family swallowed by the unknown. In the years after the discovery, the Mary Celeste sailed again under different owners. But she never shook her reputation. Sailors whispered she was cursed. Voyages on her often ended in misfortune. Finally, in 1885, her last captain deliberately wrecked her near Haiti in a failed insurance scam. The once proud ship was gone, but the mystery endured. Books, plays, films, and documentaries have retold her story countless times. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, even wrote a fictionalized account that popularized the ghost ship myth, though he embellished details. Today, the Mary Celeste remains one of the greatest unsolved puzzles of the sea. The real answer may lie beneath the waves, or perhaps it was lost forever on that November day in 1872 when Captain Briggs and his crew vanished. When you picture the Mary Celeste, imagine her drifting silently under pale skies, her sails billowing, her wheel unmanned, her decks empty. The ship moves forward, but no voices call, no footsteps echo, no hands adjust her ropes. Just the lonely creak of wood and the sigh of the wind. And somewhere, perhaps still carried on the endless tide, is the unanswered question. What happened to those aboard the Mary Celeste? Imagine a remote island off the coast of what is now North Carolina. The year is 1587. The wilderness is vast, the air heavy with humidity, and the dense forests are alive with unknown sounds. Into this strange new world steps a group of more than 100 English settlers, men, women, and children, hoping to establish a permanent colony in the New World. They were filled with hope, courage, and determination. And yet, within just a few years they would vanish. No graves, no bodies, no clear explanation. Only a single carved word left behind on a wooden post: Croton. This is the story of the lost colony of Roanoke, one of the oldest and most enduring mysteries in American history. To understand Roanoke, we must first go back to the late 16th century, a time of exploration, ambition, and competition between European powers. Spain had already claimed vast territories in the Americas, and England, under Queen Elizabeth I, was eager to stake its claim. In 1584, explorer Sir Walter Raleigh was granted a royal charter to establish an English colony in the New World. Raleigh never set foot there himself, but he organized expeditions. The first settlers arrived at Roanoke Island in 1585, but the harsh conditions and strained relations with local indigenous tribes soon forced them to abandon the effort. Still, England did not give up. In 1587, a second attempt was made, this time with families rather than just soldiers. Over 100 colonists, including women and children, sailed across the Atlantic under the leadership of John White, an artist and experienced explorer. When they arrived on Roanoke Island in July 1587, the colonists began building homes, planting crops, and preparing for a new life. Among them was White's daughter, Eleanor Dare, who gave birth to Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World. This moment was celebrated as a symbol of hope and permanence. But hope quickly gave way to hardship. Supplies were scarce, relations with nearby tribes grew tense, and the settlers realized they needed support. By August, John White returned to England to gather more provisions. He promised his colony he would return swiftly. But history intervened. Back in England, White's plans to return were interrupted by war. Spain had launched its armada against England, and every available ship was seized for defense. White's pleas were ignored as the nation fought for survival. Years passed before he could finally secure passage back to Roanoke. It was not until August 1590, 3 years later, that he returned to the island. What he found would haunt him forever. When White stepped ashore, the colony was eerily silent. The houses were dismantled, not destroyed. The fort appeared carefully taken down, not attacked. There were no signs of violence, no bones, no bodies. The settlers had vanished. The only clue, carved letters on a post. One read Ciro, while another bore the full word Croton. This was the name of a nearby island, today called Hatteras Island, home to the Croton people who had once been friendly with the English. White took this as a hopeful sign that the colonists had relocated there. But harsh weather prevented him from searching further, and his ship's crew refused to risk more delays. Heartbroken, White sailed back to England. He never saw his family or the Roanoke colonists again. For centuries, historians and archaeologists have debated what became of the lost colony. Theories range from the practical to the fantastical. The most widely accepted theory is that the settlers joined local indigenous communities, either willingly or out of desperation. Oral traditions among tribes like the Lumbee and Hatteras tell of pale-skinned, English-speaking ancestors. Modern DNA studies have searched for connections but remain inconclusive. Another theory is that the colonists were killed by tribes who resented their presence. Yet no archaeological evidence of mass violence has been found, and the careful dismantling of the settlement suggests otherwise. The New World was harsh. It's possible that famine, sickness, or lack of supplies wiped them out. But again, where are the graves? If disease had struck, bodies should have remained. Spain, eager to crush England's foothold in the Americas, may have launched a secret assault. But there are no records of such an attack, and Spanish intelligence at the time doesn't mention Roanoke specifically. The carved word remains the most tantalizing clue. Did the settlers relocate peacefully? Did they assimilate into Croton society? The lack of follow-up exploration left the question forever unanswered. Over the years, fragments of evidence have surfaced. Reports of English-style houses in indigenous villages. Children with gray eyes or lighter features among tribes. Strange stone carvings known as the Dare stones, allegedly left by Eleanor Dare describing the colony's fate, though most are now believed to be hoaxes. The mystery has also entered American folklore. Virginia Dare became a symbolic figure, often romanticized as a lost princess of the New World. Some legends even claim she was transformed into a white deer by spirits of the forest. The lost colony endures not just because of its mystery, but because it represents the fragile beginnings of English America. Before Jamestown, before Plymouth Rock, there was Roanoke, a dream that vanished before it could take root. The colonists' disappearance also serves as a reminder of how small humans can be against the vastness of nature and history. For the settlers, every sound in the forest, every unfamiliar plant, every storm could have been a threat. They were pioneers in the truest sense, and they paid the price. When you close your eyes tonight, picture Roanoke Island in the fading light. Imagine the wooden houses, empty now, with doors open to the wind. Hear the rustle of leaves, the calls of unseen birds, the crash of waves on the shore. And then imagine silence. A whole community gone, leaving only a single word carved in wood: Croton. What happened to them? Did they find new life among the Croton people, their descendants hidden in plain sight? Or were they swallowed by the wilderness, their story carried only by the whispers of trees? The answer remains lost, just like the colony itself. The Voynich Manuscript, the book that nobody can read. In a library at Yale University, locked away in the rare books collection, rests a manuscript that has baffled scholars, codebreakers, and dreamers for more than 500 years. Its pages are filled with strange illustrations, plants that do not exist, astronomical diagrams of unknown origin, and drawings of women bathing in networks of tubes and pools. Surrounding these images is text, page after page of writing in a language that no one has ever understood. This is the Voynich Manuscript, a book that nobody can read, a puzzle that refuses to be solved. Tonight, we will drift into the world of the Voynich Manuscript, exploring its discovery, its strange contents, the countless attempts to decode it, and the haunting possibility that it may never yield its secrets. The manuscript takes its modern name from Wilfrid Voynich, a Polish book dealer who purchased it in 1912 from an Italian Jesuit college. But its history goes back much further. Carbon dating of the vellum or calfskin pages places its creation in the early 15th century, around the year 1420. Voynich himself was stunned by what he had found. The book contained 240 pages, written in a script completely unknown to linguists. No alphabet matched it. No language seemed related. And yet, the text flowed smoothly as if the author was fluent in this mysterious tongue. From the moment of its rediscovery, the manuscript captured the imagination of the world. The book is divided into sections, each filled with peculiar illustrations. They provide tantalizing hints, and even more confusion. 1. Botanical section. Pages filled with drawings of plants, many of which resemble real herbs, but others are utterly fantastical. Roots twist in impossible shapes, and flowers bloom in ways no botanist has ever recorded. 2. Astronomical section. Circular diagrams filled with stars, suns, and moons. Some appear to depict zodiac symbols, while others resemble cosmic wheels or unknown calendars. 3. Biological section. Perhaps the most unsettling. Pages showing small nude women bathing in strange green pools connected by tubes, channels, and vessels. Some scholars suggest they represent anatomy, others think alchemy or fertility rituals. 4. Pharmaceutical section. Drawings of apothecary jars, vials, and containers, alongside text that may describe recipes or medicinal preparations. 5. Recipe section. Short paragraphs, each beginning with a star-like symbol. Were these instructions? Spells? Treatments? No one knows. The images are clear, but their meaning remains as elusive as the script itself. For over a century, some of the greatest minds have tried, and failed, to unlock the Voynich manuscript. Cryptographers of World War II. The same experts who cracked enemy codes were brought in to study the manuscript. They could break Nazi ciphers, but not this book. Linguists, some argue it is a lost natural language compressed into a unique script. Others think it might be a constructed language invented by the author. In statistical analyses, modern computers have shown that the text follows patterns similar to human language, suggesting it is not random gibberish. And yet, despite all this effort, no one has translated even a single page with certainty. Over the years, theories about the manuscript's origin have grown almost as strange as the book itself. Some believe it was a medieval medical or herbal guide, its odd drawings representing plants and treatments. But why use an unknown language? Alchemy, The medieval pursuit of turning base metals into gold and discovering the elixir of life often involved secrecy. Perhaps the Voynich was a coded alchemical text, its bizarre plants symbolic rather than real. Could it be that the book is a meaningless creation, designed to deceive or amuse? Some suggest it was made to swindle a wealthy patron, pages filled with nonsense that looked profound. But the consistent patterns in the text argue otherwise. Others suggest it may preserve knowledge from a lost culture, written in a language no longer spoken. The illustrations could be a blend of real plants and symbolic art. As with many great mysteries, some have wondered if it is not of this world at all. Could the Voynich manuscript be an artifact of extraterrestrial origin, a record of knowledge in an alien tongue? In the 21st century, scholars continue to investigate. Multispectral imaging has revealed erased sections. Computational linguistics has tried to map the script to known languages. Some researchers claim partial breakthroughs, matching words to Hebrew, Latin, or Nahuatl, but none have been universally accepted. The book seems to dance just beyond our reach, revealing patterns but never meaning. Part of the manuscript's power lies not only in what it may contain, but in what it represents, the human drive to seek meaning. Each page is a mirror reflecting our desire to solve puzzles, to unlock secrets, to impose order on the unknown. The Voynich manuscript reminds us that, despite our advanced science, there are still mysteries that defy explanation. It humbles us, showing that knowledge is not infinite, and that some doors remain closed. When you imagine the Voynich manuscript, see its yellowed pages lit by candlelight. Imagine a scribe's hand carefully shaping letters that belong to no known alphabet. Hear the soft crackle of vellum, the whisper of centuries. The book sits silently as it has for 500 years, keeping its secrets. Perhaps it is a manual of medicine, a book of spells, or nothing more than an elaborate joke. Or perhaps it holds truths we are not yet ready to understand. Until that day, the Voynich manuscript remains what it has always been. A book that nobody can read. The wow signal, a whisper from the stars. On a warm August evening in 1977, at the Big Ear radio telescope in Ohio, a researcher named Jerry Emmons sat scanning sheets of paper. They weren't ordinary papers, but computer printouts, covered in long strings of numbers and letters, representing the signals picked up from deep space. Most of the time, these pages were monotonous, just static background noise and the constant hum of the cosmos. But suddenly, Emmons' eyes locked onto something extraordinary. There it was, a sequence of numbers and letters that rose far above the usual noise. For 72 seconds, the telescope had captured a signal so unusual, so strong, and so perfectly aligned with expectations of what an extraterrestrial transmission might look like, that Emmons circled it in red ink and wrote a single word in the margin: wow. That one word gave the signal its name, the wow signal. To this day, it remains one of the most tantalizing hints that we may not be alone in the universe. To understand the wow signal, we need to step back and explore what astronomers were doing in 1977. The SETI project, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, was scanning the skies with radio telescopes. The idea was simple but profound. If intelligent civilizations exist, perhaps they would send or leak radio transmissions into space. Just as Earth is constantly broadcasting radio and television signals, maybe others are doing the same. The Big Ear telescope in Ohio was one of the tools used for this quest. For years, it listened patiently to the stars, recording data on reams of continuous printouts. And then, in August of 1977, something extraordinary happened. The signal came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, near a cluster of stars known as Chi Sagittarii. On the printout, the signal stood out dramatically, a sharp spike in intensity measured by alphanumeric codes. The sequence read, 6EQUJ5. To Jerry Emmons, this wasn't random. It was the exact kind of narrowband radio signal SETI researchers had dreamed of detecting. It lasted 72 seconds, the maximum length the telescope could observe before Earth's rotation moved it out of view. It was detected on a frequency of 1420 MHz, known as the hydrogen line, a frequency of special significance because hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. Many scientists believed an alien civilization might use this frequency deliberately, knowing others would be listening there. It was strong. So strong that it dwarfed the background noise, spiking in a way natural sources rarely, if ever, produce. For those 72 seconds, it was as though the universe whispered. The wow signal has fascinated people because it looks so much like what we might expect from extraterrestrial intelligence. But science demands caution. If we leap too quickly to conclusions, we risk being misled. So let's examine the possibilities. One possibility is that the signal was simply Earth-based interference, a satellite, a passing aircraft, or human technology bouncing back. But researchers have largely ruled this out. The frequency was carefully chosen to avoid Earth-based transmissions, and no known satellites were in that exact region at the time. Could it have been a natural phenomenon like a pulsar, quasar, or some unusual emission from a star? Astronomers studied this intensely, but natural sources usually spread across multiple frequencies. The wow signal was narrow and precise, which is highly unusual in nature. And then, of course, the most thrilling possibility, that it was a transmission, deliberate or accidental, from another civilization. The fact that it came from the hydrogen line, the cosmic water hole, as some call it, makes this idea even more tempting. Scientists have long speculated that if alien life wanted to make contact, they might choose this frequency as a universal meeting point. After the signal was discovered, astronomers tried desperately to detect it again. They pointed telescopes back to the same region of the sky, listening night after night. But it never returned. That is perhaps the most frustrating part of the wow signal. It happened once and only once. In science, repetition is crucial. Without it, certainty is impossible. Over the decades, new attempts have been made with more powerful telescopes. Still, nothing identical has ever been found. The universe remains quiet. In recent years, researchers have revisited the wow signal with fresh eyes and modern technology. Some propose that it may have come from a hydrogen cloud surrounding a comet that happened to pass by at that time. This was briefly considered promising, but further analysis cast doubt, as comets generally don't produce signals of such narrow strength and precision. Others continue to insist it was likely extraterrestrial, though without proof. In 2022, an astronomer named Alberto Caballero even traced the region of the sky to a potential sun-like star, 1,800 light-years away, which could be a candidate for hosting planets. While this is intriguing, it remains speculation. The wow signal is fascinating not only because of what it was, but because of what followed: silence. For over 40 years, despite massive advances in radio telescopes, satellites, and deep space listening, nothing quite like it has been heard again. This raises profound questions. Was it truly a one-time event, never to be repeated? Or do signals like it occur more often but only when no one is listening? Could it be that civilizations exist, but their transmissions are rare, brief, or aimed elsewhere? The wow signal reminds us that the search for life in the universe is like fishing in a cosmic ocean. We may cast our nets for decades and catch nothing, until just once something brushes against the line. The human mind is wired for wonder. We look up at the stars and ask the oldest question: are we alone? The wow signal is a whisper that suggests, maybe not. It is not proof, but it is possibility. A single data point that keeps hope alive. We may never know if it was natural, accidental, or intentional. But perhaps its true gift is the way it fuels imagination, inspiring us to keep listening, to keep reaching into the dark, infinite night. As you drift into sleep, picture the Big Ear telescope in Ohio on that August night in 1977. Imagine its giant metal frame, tilted toward the constellation Sagittarius, listening silently to the cosmos. And then, for just 72 seconds, imagine the stars whispering back. A faint signal crossing light-years of space, reaching Earth, recorded on a sheet of paper, circled in red, with a single word scribbled in the margin. Wow. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was everything. And maybe, somewhere out there, the senders are still waiting for us to reply. The Dyatlov Pass incident, the hikers who never came home. High in the Ural Mountains of Soviet Russia, in the winter of 1959, 9 young hikers set out on a trek. They were skilled, experienced, and prepared for the harsh conditions. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, was confident. Their goal: to reach the remote Otorten mountain, a name that means "don't go there" in the language of the indigenous Mansi people. They never made it. Weeks later, searchers discovered their abandoned campsite on the slopes of what is now called the Dyatlov Pass. Their tent was torn open from the inside. Belongings and shoes were left behind. And the hikers themselves were scattered across the snow, in conditions so strange and disturbing that the mystery has haunted the world ever since. What happened to them that night? Was it an avalanche, military testing, or something more unearthly? Let's drift into the chilling story of the Dyatlov Pass incident, a mystery frozen in time. The expedition was made up of 9 students and recent graduates of the Ural Polytechnic Institute. Igor Dyatlov, the leader, just 23 years old, known for his discipline and resourcefulness. Zinaida Kolmogorova, a determined young woman, strong and cheerful. Rustam Slobodin, an athlete, remembered for his endurance. Ludmila Dubinina, outspoken, tough, and one of the most experienced hikers. Yuri Doroshenko, known for his courage and willingness to help others. Yuri Krivonischenko, a joker of the group, lightening moods with humor. Alexander Kolevatov, a thoughtful, quiet student. And Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, a young engineering student of French descent. Semyon Zolotaryov, the oldest, 38, a war veteran who joined the group last minute. 10 hikers set out originally, but one, Yuri Yudin, fell ill and turned back early, unknowingly saving his life. The group began their trek in late January, skiing through forests and up frozen slopes. They kept diaries and took photographs, many of which survive today, showing smiles, laughter, and a sense of camaraderie. By February 1st, they had reached the slopes of a mountain called Kholat Syakhl, Mountain of the Dead in Mansi legend. A storm was brewing. They set up camp on the snowy slope, pitching their tent in harsh winds. It was the last night they were ever seen alive. When the hikers failed to return, a search party was launched. Weeks later, rescuers discovered the campsite. What they found was disturbing. The tent was slashed open from the inside. The boots, jackets, and supplies were left behind. The hikers seemed to have fled suddenly, some in socks or even barefoot, into the freezing night. The searchers followed tracks leading into the forest. The first 2 bodies were found at the edge of the woods, near the remains of a small campfire. They were Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonischenko. Both were shoeless, wearing only underwear, with burns on their hands and feet, as though they had tried desperately to warm themselves. Nearby, searchers found Igor Dyatlov face up in the snow, his fists clenched as if crawling back toward the tent. Further away lay Zinaida Kolmogorova, frozen mid-stride, and then Rustam Slobodin, whose skull showed a fracture, yet with no external wounds. Months later, when the snow melted, the remaining 4 were discovered in a ravine deeper into the forest. Their deaths were the most mysterious of all. Ludmila Dubinina had lost her tongue and eyes. Semyon Zolotaryov had severe chest fractures, as though crushed by immense pressure. And Nikolai Thibault-Brignol had a fractured skull. Strangely, their injuries resembled those from a car crash, not a fall. Some of their clothing was also found to contain radioactive traces. The Soviet investigation concluded that the hikers died from a compelling natural force. But what was that force? Over the decades, theories have multiplied. The most common explanation is an avalanche. Perhaps snow collapsed onto the tent, forcing the hikers to flee. But the slope was gentle, and no signs of a major avalanche were found. The injuries were also far too severe to match a small slide. Some scientists suggest violent, sudden winds, like invisible avalanches of air, may have terrified the hikers into fleeing the tent. Yet this doesn't explain the crushing injuries. In 1959, the Soviet Union was testing parachute mines and secret weapons in remote regions. Could the hikers have stumbled into danger? The strange injuries and radiation traces fuel this theory. Some believe the Soviet government covered up the truth. Another possibility involves low-frequency sound waves created by the wind. Infrasound can cause panic, nausea, and hallucinations. Could the hikers have been driven mad with fear, tearing open their tent and fleeing? At first, authorities considered whether the local indigenous Mansi people had attacked. But there were no signs of struggle and the Mansi had no motive. The strangest theories suggest UFOs, Yeti-like creatures, or unknown forces were involved. Witnesses in nearby villages reported strange lights in the sky around the time of the incident. Some hikers' journals even mention mysterious glowing orbs. In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case, studying avalanches, wind patterns, and forensic evidence. The official explanation once again leaned toward an avalanche combined with hypothermia. But many remain unconvinced. The mystery is too layered, the details too strange. The Dyatlov Pass incident endures because it is not just about death, it is about unanswered questions. Why slash the tent open from the inside? Why flee without clothes in freezing temperatures? And what caused injuries like car crashes, yet left no external wounds? And why radiation? These contradictions invite endless speculation. When you close your eyes, imagine the snowy slopes of the Ural Mountains. Picture a lone tent half buried in the wind, silent now. The tracks of 9 hikers lead away into the dark forest, where shadows stretch between the trees. They left in fear or perhaps in confusion. They ran toward something, or away from something we may never know. The wind still howls across Dyatlov Pass. And with it, the unanswered question lingers. What happened on that frozen night in 1959? The lost city of Atlantis, a civilization drowned in legend. Far beneath the waves, hidden in the depths of human imagination, lies a city spoken of for thousands of years. A city of vast wealth and wisdom, of majestic temples and glittering towers. A city that flourished, and then vanished, swallowed by the sea in a single terrible day. This is the legend of Atlantis, perhaps the most famous lost civilization in history. Is it pure myth invented by ancient storytellers? Or was Atlantis real, a memory of a forgotten culture, erased by nature's fury? Tonight, let's drift through the waves of history, philosophy, and speculation to uncover why the story of Atlantis continues to fascinate us. The tale of Atlantis begins with one man, the Greek philosopher Plato. Around 360 BCE, in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, Plato describes a mighty island nation beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the ancient name for the Strait of Gibraltar. According to Plato, Atlantis was larger than Libya and Asia combined. Its people were wealthy, powerful, and advanced. They built great palaces, harbors, and canals. Their armies ruled much of the known world. But pride and greed corrupted them. The gods, displeased, struck Atlantis down. In a single day and night of misfortune, the island sank beneath the sea. Plato claimed this story was passed down from Egyptian priests to the Athenian statesman Solon, and from him to Plato's family. But was it history, or allegory? Many scholars argue Plato's story was a moral tale, a warning against arrogance and the abuse of power. Atlantis may have been a symbol, not a place. And yet, the vivid detail, the sense of lost grandeur, has made people wonder for centuries. Could Plato have been describing something real? From ancient times to today, countless explorers, writers, and dreamers have searched for Atlantis. Each age has placed it somewhere new. Some believe Atlantis was not in the Atlantic at all, but in the Mediterranean. The island of Santorini, once home to the Minoan civilization, suffered a catastrophic volcanic eruption around 1600 BCE. This disaster destroyed towns, caused tsunamis, and may have inspired Plato's tale. Others take Plato literally. Beyond the Pillars of Hercules lies the vast Atlantic. Could Atlantis have been an island now lost to the waves? The Azores, Canary Islands, and even the Caribbean have all been suggested. Some 19th century theorists argued that Atlantis was a memory of the Americas. They claimed Plato's descriptions matched parts of Central or South America, suggesting ancient transatlantic contact. A more fringe theory places Atlantis under the ice of Antarctica, claiming the continent was once temperate before shifting south. Though highly speculative, it reflects the endless human desire to locate the lost city. Even if Atlantis itself was not real, the legend may preserve echoes of real catastrophes. Ancient societies often wove myths around natural disasters. Floods, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions could erase entire cultures in days. The eruption of Santorini devastated the Minoans, one of Europe's earliest great civilizations. To survivors, it may have seemed like divine punishment, later preserved in stories that inspired Plato. Likewise, global flood myths, like those in Mesopotamia, India, and among indigenous peoples, suggest humanity carries deep memory of rising seas at the end of the Ice Age. Atlantis may be part of this shared human memory of loss. Over the centuries, explorers have claimed to find Atlantis in countless places. Spanish ruins off the coast of Cuba, stone roads under the sea near Bimini in the Bahamas, sunken cities in the Mediterranean. Yet none have been proven. Each discovery brings excitement, then disappointment. Atlantis always seems to slip away as if destined to remain a dream. Atlantis is not just a mystery, it is a mirror. It reflects our hopes and fears. A lost golden age. We long for the idea of a time when humanity was wiser, greater, and more advanced than today. Atlantis offers that dream. A warning, at the same time, it is a cautionary tale. Power leads to arrogance and arrogance to downfall. Atlantis reminds us of fragility. The desire for discovery, the thought that something so grand could still lie hidden ignites imagination. If Atlantis could be found, what else might remain beneath the waves? Even if Atlantis never existed, the oceans do hide countless secrets. Sunken cities have been discovered, like Heracleion off the coast of Egypt, lost for over 1,000 years beneath the Nile Delta. Ancient harbors, temples, and entire towns still rest underwater, waiting for discovery. So while Atlantis itself may be a story, the world is full of real lost civilizations. When you drift into sleep, imagine a city shining in the sun, its towers rising above canals, its markets filled with life. Hear the sounds of music, trade, and laughter echoing across marble halls. And then, the earth trembles. Waves rise. The city falls silent, swallowed by the sea. Whether Atlantis was real or a parable, it lives on in us. In every dream of lost worlds, in every search for meaning beneath the waves, in every story that asks, what if? Perhaps Atlantis will never be found. Or perhaps, someday beneath the shifting oceans, we may glimpse the stones of a forgotten city, and with them the echoes of a civilization that vanished in a single day and night of misfortune. The Taos hum, the sound that shouldn't exist. Imagine lying in bed at night, in perfect silence. No traffic, no television, no voices. And yet, you hear it. A low, constant hum, like the distant engine of a truck idling somewhere outside. You cover your ears, it doesn't stop. You move to another room, it follows. This is the experience of thousands of people across the world who claim to hear the mysterious phenomenon known as the hum. One of the most famous cases comes from a small town in New Mexico called Taos, where, in the 1990s, so many residents reported this strange sound that scientists, journalists, and even Congress took notice. But what is the Taos hum? Is it a physical sound, a trick of the mind, or something stranger? Let's explore one of the most unsettling auditory mysteries of modern times. Taos is a picturesque town, surrounded by desert mesas and the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. It is quiet, peaceful, a place where silence feels natural. But in the early 1990s, locals began to complain of a persistent low-frequency noise. They described it as a distant diesel engine always idling. A deep vibration felt more than heard. A sound that became worse at night, especially indoors. The problem was not everyone heard it. Only about 2% of the population reported the hum. For those who did, it was unbearable. They couldn't sleep. Some grew anxious, depressed, even ill. The reports grew so numerous that investigators were sent to Taos in 1993. Acoustic engineers, physicists, and government agencies tried to track it down. They found nothing. The strangest aspect of the hum is its selectivity. In Taos and other towns where it has been reported, only a small percentage of people ever hear it. These hearers describe it in consistent terms. A low frequency around 30 to 80 hertz. Louder at night than during the day. Harder to escape indoors than outdoors. Some say earplugs make no difference. It is not just heard but felt, as if resonating within the body itself. Though Taos is famous for it, the hum is not confined to New Mexico. reports have emerged from around the world. At Bristol, England, in the 1970s, hundreds reported a low rumble that lasted for years. Kokomo, Indiana, in the 1990s, residents complained of headaches, insomnia, and the same deep sound. At Windsor, Ontario, in Canada, people near Detroit heard a persistent hum traced vaguely to nearby industrial plants, though never fully explained. Auckland, New Zealand, a similar low-frequency noise has been documented. In each place the pattern repeats. Some hear it, others don't, and investigations fail to pin it down. So what could cause the Taos hum? Scientists have proposed several possibilities. One theory is that the hum is generated by distant factories, power plants, or gas pipelines. Low-frequency sound can travel long distances and reflect off landscapes. But in Taos, investigators found no industrial source strong enough to explain it. Could it be traffic? Trucks on distant highways produce deep rumbles. Yet the hum persists even in remote areas with little or no traffic. Some suggest that the hum is not acoustic but electromagnetic, interacting with sensitive individuals. Human ears normally can't hear electromagnetic radiation, but perhaps some people can perceive it indirectly. Tinnitus, a condition where the brain perceives ringing or buzzing with no external source, might explain some cases. But hum hearers insist it is external, changing with location, and often shared by multiple people in the same house. The Earth itself hums with low vibrations caused by ocean waves and seismic activity. These microseisms are real, measurable phenomena. Could certain people be unusually sensitive to them? Skeptics argue the hum might be a kind of mass psychogenic phenomenon, a shared belief leading people to interpret normal background noise as something unusual. Yet, the consistency of reports across cultures and decades challenges this. The Taos hum was studied seriously by physicists from Los Alamos National Laboratory and the University of New Mexico, who concluded it was not psychological. Something real was happening, though they couldn't say what. Like many mysteries, the hum invites wilder ideas. Secret military experiments? Some believe it could be linked to submarine communication systems or classified technologies emitting low-frequency signals. UFOs or alien activity? The association of the hum with specific areas has led some to suggest extraterrestrial origins. Earth's resonance. A mystical interpretation holds that the hum is the planet's natural vibration, and only some are tuned to hear it. While science seeks rational causes, the persistence of unexplained reports keeps these possibilities alive. For those who hear it, the hum can be torment. Some describe sleepless nights from the constant drone, headaches and nausea from the vibration, a sense of being hunted by a sound no one else acknowledges. A few have even moved away from Taos, desperate to escape it. Strangely, in many cases relocation helps, yet for others the hum follows. Despite decades of study, no clear source has been identified for the Taos hum. It may be multiple phenomena mistaken for one. Or it may be a genuine, global mystery, something science has yet to measure properly. What makes the hum haunting is not just its sound, but its invisibility. It hides between what we know and what we cannot explain, always present, always elusive. As you close your eyes tonight, imagine the desert of New Mexico under a sky full of stars. In the stillness, a sound hums beneath the silence, low, steady, unrelenting. Most would never hear it. But for some, it is inescapable, an invisible presence in the night. Perhaps it is industry. Perhaps it is Earth itself. Or perhaps it is something beyond our understanding, a reminder that even in our modern world, mysteries still hum beneath the surface. The Mary Celeste, the ghost ship of the Atlantic. The ocean has always been a place of mystery. Its vast waters hide storms, secrets, and stories of ships that never returned. But among all maritime mysteries, none is more haunting than the tale of the Mary Celeste. A perfectly seaworthy vessel found adrift in the Atlantic Ocean in 1872, abandoned by its crew with no explanation. The Mary Celeste was not wrecked. It was not sunk. Her cargo was intact, her supplies untouched, her sails still set. Yet her captain, his wife, their young daughter, and the entire crew were gone, vanished without a trace. What happened aboard this ship remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of the sea. The Mary Celeste was a merchant brigantine, built in Nova Scotia in 1861 under the name Amazon. She had a troubled early career, collisions, storms, and even the death of her first captain. But after a refit, she was purchased by American owners in 1868 and renamed Mary Celeste. By 1872, she was commanded by Captain Benjamin Briggs, a respected sailor of deep faith. With him were his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. The rest of the crew included 7 experienced seamen. Their voyage was straightforward. Sail from New York to Genoa, Italy, carrying a cargo of industrial alcohol. On November 7, 1872, the Mary Celeste set sail into the Atlantic. Nearly a month later, on December 5, the British ship Dei Grazia was crossing the Atlantic when her crew spotted another vessel drifting strangely. It was the Mary Celeste. When they boarded her, they were astonished. The ship was seaworthy, only lightly damaged. Her cargo of alcohol was mostly intact. The lifeboat was missing. The logbook's last entry was 10 days earlier. The crew's belongings, food, and water were undisturbed. It was as if everyone had left suddenly in the middle of their voyage, never to return. The mystery of the Mary Celeste has inspired endless speculation. How could an experienced captain and crew abandon a perfectly safe ship in the middle of the ocean? At first, some suspected pirates. But the cargo and valuables were untouched. Pirates steal, they don't vanish without a trace. Others suggested mutiny. But no evidence of struggle or violence was found, and Captain Briggs was well respected by his men. Perhaps the barrels of alcohol leaked, filling the hold with fumes. Fearing an explosion, Briggs might have ordered everyone into the lifeboat temporarily. If so, a sudden squall or accident could have separated them from the Mary Celeste, leaving them adrift until lost at sea. This is one of the most accepted theories, though it cannot be proven. Some theorize a sudden seaquake, waterspout, or rogue wave may have terrified the crew into abandoning ship. But again, the Mary Celeste was in good condition, showing no sign of disaster. The mystery has also invited stranger ideas. Alien abduction. A sea monster. A curse carried from her early years as the unlucky Amazon. Though unlikely, these theories reflect the fascination people feel for a mystery that resists ordinary explanation. When the Dei Grazia brought the Mary Celeste into Gibraltar, an inquiry was held. The British authorities were suspicious. Could the crew of the Dei Grazia have murdered those aboard and claimed salvage rights? But the evidence didn't support foul play. The court eventually awarded salvage money, though less than expected, perhaps reflecting lingering doubts. The Mary Celeste was cleared of wrongdoing, but the fate of her crew remained unsolved. The Mary Celeste herself continued to sail for years, but her reputation was ruined. No crew wanted to serve on a ghost ship. She passed through multiple owners, each finding her unprofitable. In 1885, her final captain deliberately ran her aground in an insurance fraud scheme. The wreck still lies off the coast of Haiti. Yet the mystery of her abandonment remains far more enduring than her actual career. The Mary Celeste has become a symbol of the sea's mysteries. Unlike many shipwrecks, she was found intact, with no storm, no battle, no disaster to explain her emptiness. She was a ship frozen in time, sails set, meals uneaten, belongings waiting for owners who never returned. The unanswered questions are what make the story timeless. Why leave a safe ship for a fragile lifeboat? And what fear, sudden or overwhelming, drove them to abandon her? And why was there no trace, no wreckage, no bodies, no message? As you drift towards sleep, imagine the wide Atlantic Ocean in the winter of 1872. The sky is gray, the waves roll endlessly, and on the horizon, a ship drifts silently, her sails loose in the wind. You climb aboard. The deck creaks underfoot. The wheel turns slowly with no one to guide it. Cabins are neat, beds unmade, meals untouched. It is a ship waiting for its crew to return. But they never will. The Mary Celeste sails forever in mystery, an eternal ghost of the sea, reminding us that even when all seems calm, the ocean keeps its secrets. The Voynich Manuscript, the book that defies understanding. Hidden away in the Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University lies a book unlike any other. Its pages are filled with strange, looping script, elaborate diagrams of unknown plants, mysterious zodiac symbols, and naked figures bathing in strange, interconnected pools. This is the Voynich manuscript, a text that has defied all attempts at translation for over 5 centuries. Even today, linguists, codebreakers, cryptographers, and historians cannot decipher it. Some believe it is an elaborate hoax, others a lost language, and a few even whisper of extraterrestrial origin. Tonight, we will delve into the mysteries of the Voynich manuscript, a book that may never reveal its secrets. The manuscript is named after Wilfrid Voynich, a Polish-American book dealer who acquired it in 1912. However, the manuscript itself is far older. Carbon dating places the vellum, its calfskin pages, between 1404 and 1438. Voynich quickly realized he had stumbled upon something extraordinary. The book consisted of 240 pages, though some are missing. Every page is written in an unknown script, unlike any known alphabet, and the text flows as if it were a natural language, not random letters. Voynich described it as the most mysterious manuscript in the world, a puzzle that had stumped everyone who laid eyes on it. The manuscript is divided into sections, each filled with bizarre illustrations. 1. Botanical section. Each page shows a plant, sometimes resembling real herbs, but often entirely fantastical. Roots twist in impossible ways, flowers bloom in strange forms, and leaves spiral into unnatural patterns. 2. Astronomical section. Diagrams of stars, moons, suns, and possibly constellations. Some pages resemble calendars, celestial charts, or unknown cosmologies. 3. Biological section. Perhaps the most unsettling, showing naked women bathing in interconnected green pools. They are connected by tubes, pipes, or veins. Scholars have speculated this represents anatomy, fertility, or alchemy. 4. Pharmaceutical section. Drawings of jars, vials, and tools. Short notes accompany them, hinting at recipes or instructions. 5. Recipes section. Pages filled with short paragraphs, each marked with a star or symbol. These may describe treatments, rituals, or unknown formulas. The images are meticulous and consistent, yet their meaning remains a complete mystery. For centuries, the Voynich manuscript has resisted translation. A World War II cryptographers, the same codebreakers who deciphered enemy communications, attempted to crack it. They failed. The linguists, some suggest it is a lost language, others a constructed one, designed to encode knowledge in a private script. A computational analysis. Modern algorithms show the text follows patterns similar to natural language, with repeated words and structured grammar. Despite all efforts, no one has reliably translated a single page. Many explanations have been proposed. The illustrations of plants and baths suggest a medical or herbal manual. Perhaps it was written for secret use by an apothecary or healer. Some scholars propose it contains alchemical knowledge, encoded to prevent misuse. The bathing women may symbolize purification or transformation. Could the manuscript be nonsense, designed to impress wealthy patrons? While some pages may support this, the linguistic patterns suggest intentional structure rather than randomness. It may record the knowledge of a forgotten culture, written in a language no longer spoken. This theory is supported by the book's unique but consistent writing system. A few suggest the manuscript is not of this world. Its unknown script, unknown plants, and mysterious diagrams have led some to wonder if it holds alien knowledge. Recent technologies have brought new insight. A multispectral imaging reveals erased or altered sections, showing changes by the original scribe. A linguistic analysis suggests certain words repeat in structured ways, hinting at syntax. A DNA testing of the vellum confirms European origin, likely northern Italy in the early 15th century. Yet no breakthrough has produced a reliable translation. The Voynich manuscript captivates not only because of its mystery, but because of what it represents: human curiosity. It is a mirror of our desire to know the unknown, to solve puzzles, and to uncover knowledge hidden for centuries. It challenges our assumptions about language, writing, and communication. The manuscript reminds us that even in an age of digital information, some knowledge remains tantalizingly out of reach. As you drift into sleep tonight, imagine a scribe in 15th century Italy, carefully crafting letters of an unknown alphabet. Candles flicker in the quiet room. Ink flows across vellum. Each page is a world unto itself. Plants that could never grow, stars that may never shine, figures bathing in pools of strange green water. And then, centuries later, the book rests in silence on a shelf in Yale University. Scholars open it, computers analyze it, yet the meaning remains hidden. The Voynich manuscript waits patiently, a silent guardian of secrets perhaps never to be revealed. And somewhere in the loops of its letters, it whispers across the centuries, "I exist and yet you cannot read me." The Taos hum, the sound that defies silence. Imagine the stillness of a desert night. The stars hang heavy in the sky. The air is cool and quiet. Yet, beneath the silence, a sound persists, low, steady, unrelenting. This is the Taos hum, a phenomenon that has puzzled scientists, engineers, and residents for decades. Unlike ordinary noise, the hum is selective. Only some people hear it. Only in certain places. And yet it is impossible to escape once it is perceived. Tonight, we will explore the Taos hum, a modern enigma that blurs the line between science, perception, and mystery. Taos, New Mexico, is a small town tucked between desert mesas and the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Its quiet streets, adobe buildings, and vast skies make it ideal for solitude. Yet in the 1990s, residents began reporting a strange phenomenon. A low-frequency humming sound that seemed to permeate buildings, landscapes, and the night itself. Those who heard it described it as a distant engine idling somewhere in the darkness. A vibration more than a sound that could be felt in the chest. A noise that intensified indoors and at night, vanishing only in the rarest conditions. The most perplexing aspect of the Taos hum is that not everyone experiences it. In studies, only about 2% of residents reported hearing the hum. Hearers consistently describe a low-frequency tone, typically between 30 to 80 Hz. A sensation that is sometimes felt more than heard, as though it resonates inside the body. An inescapable presence indoors, earplugs offer little relief. The phenomenon is highly selective, baffling scientists who attempt to explain it with conventional acoustic theories. Taos is not unique. Low-frequency hums have been reported worldwide. At Bristol, England, in the 1970s, hundreds reported a persistent hum that no measurement could locate. Kokomo, Indiana. Residents in the 1990s reported headaches, insomnia, and vibrations similar to the Taos hum. Windsor, Ontario. A hum heard near industrial areas eluded scientific identification. Auckland, New Zealand. A consistent low rumble, impossible to trace. These reports share remarkable similarities. Frequency range, perception, and selective hearing. Researchers have proposed several potential causes. 1. Industrial sources. Pipelines, factories, and distant machinery could emit low-frequency sounds. However, investigations in Taos and other locations revealed no industrial source strong enough to explain the hum. 2. Traffic and highways. Long-distance sound from highways can travel far, creating deep rumbling. Yet the hum is reported in areas far from roads and in isolated rural regions. 3. Electromagnetic fields. Some scientists speculate that electromagnetic waves may interact with sensitive individuals, producing the perception of sound. Yet definitive evidence is lacking. 4. Tinnitus. Could the hum be a form of tinnitus? While tinnitus causes ringing or buzzing, the hum differs. It is often perceived externally, sometimes shared among multiple hearers. 5. Seismic microvibrations. The Earth itself hums at low frequencies, generated by ocean waves and tectonic activity. Certain people may be unusually sensitive to these microseisms. Skeptics argue the hum may be a psychogenic phenomenon, a shared belief among residents creating the perception of sound. However, careful studies suggest that the hum is not entirely psychological. In Taos, surveys and measurements indicate a real acoustic or vibratory phenomenon, even if the precise source remains elusive. Beyond science, the Taos hum invites speculation. Secret military technology. Some suggest experimental sonar, radio, or harp-like experiments could generate low-frequency waves. Extraterrestrial signals. UFO enthusiasts propose alien technology emitting vibrations detectable only by certain humans. Planetary resonance. A mystical interpretation holds that the hum is the planet itself vibrating, perceptible to only a few. While speculative, these ideas reflect the human fascination with unexplained phenomena. For those who hear it, the hum is not merely a curiosity, it is a persistent intrusion. Insomnia. The unending drone can make sleep nearly impossible. Headaches and fatigue. Vibrations inside the body can lead to physical discomfort. A psychological strain, anxiety, irritation, and a sense of helplessness often accompany the experience. Some have relocated, seeking relief. Others live with it daily, unsure if it will ever vanish. Researchers from Los Alamos National Laboratory and the University of New Mexico conducted extensive studies in the 1990s. Their conclusions. The hum is real for those who perceive it. No single external source could be identified. A low-frequency sound and vibration, both natural and artificial, remain the most plausible causes. Yet even today the phenomenon defies complete explanation. The Taos hum endures as a mystery because it straddles the border between science and the unknown. It is auditory but invisible, you cannot see it, only feel it or hear it. Is selective, only some humans perceive it, emphasizing the subjectivity of our senses. Persistent. Unlike temporary sounds, the hum can persist for years, sometimes decades. It reminds us that even in a modern world dominated by measurement and data, mysteries remain, subtle and haunting. As you drift into sleep tonight, picture the quiet deserts of Taos under a blanket of stars. The night is still. The wind whispers through mesas and canyons. And beneath the silence, a low, steady hum vibrates through the air, felt more than heard, a ghostly presence in the darkness. Most will never notice it, but for a few, it is impossible to ignore. A reminder that the world still holds secrets beyond our comprehension, that the universe has sounds we cannot fully grasp, and that some mysteries hum softly just beyond our reach. And so, our journey through the unexplained comes to an end, for now. From whispers in the stars to abandoned ships, from lost cities to hums that defy perception, the mysteries of our world remind us how much we do not know. Some answers may never come. Some questions may never be solved. And perhaps, that is part of the wonder. If you felt captivated by these stories, or if they lulled you into a world of curiosity and calm, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to The Sleepy Doctor. Hit the bell so you'll never miss a new story designed to stir your imagination and ease you into sleep. Thank you for traveling through the unknown with me tonight. Close your eyes, let the mysteries drift through your mind, and allow yourself to rest, knowing the world is full of secrets and sometimes it's okay to let them remain unsolved. Sleep well, until the next story.